Welcome to another edition of Disability and You. I'm Ganesh Singh. On this program, I'll be having a conversation with Leroy Phillips, who is a disability rights advocate, and Celeste Belgrave. She is a parent of a child with a disability. The focus of today's program is to discuss the different measures that would have been announced by His Excellency Dr. Irfaan Ali to help alleviate some of the challenges persons with disabilities would have been encountering over the years. So this program, I encourage you to stay tuned. We're going to discuss some of the challenges and how the measures would benefit persons with disabilities. Celeste, Leroy, welcome to the program and thank you very much for being here.
It's our pleasure, Ganesh. Thanks very much.
Yes, it is.
Leroy, as an advocate for persons with disabilities, you would know firsthand the challenges persons with disabilities would have been experiencing over the years. Let's first start with the announcement by His Excellency that a business center would be established in all the administrative regions of Guyana. And those business centers, persons with disabilities will be able to get employment and also training. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you think it can benefit the community?
Yeah, I don't know how I can put it in simpler terms, Ganesh, but I want to firstly start off by acknowledging that kind of announcement from His Excellency President Irfaan Ali. The issue many persons with disabilities always cry about, always talk about, are always expressing or highlighting is access to finances. All problems are always about accessing money. How do we get money to move from point A to point B? And now that a business center will be established in every administrative region of the country, and that will be 10 of them, lots of PWDs in those communities or in those regions will now feel excited, will now feel as though the door is opening wider and wider to gain that economic independence in their lives. So I applaud that kind of announcement, that kind of approach by the government, and I really want to encourage my fellow persons with disabilities to take advantage of this kind of opportunity. This wouldn't happen by the end of this week, by the end of this month, but in the interim, seek out opportunities to be trained, to gain a skill, so that you could be very viable when these business centers are erected in the 10 administrative regions in Guyana.
I'll expand on 2 points you made, Leroy. One is to be prepared, to get training. And at the level of the Guyana Council of Organization for Persons with Disabilities, they would have been implementing a number of skills training programs for people with disabilities in partnership with Board of Industrial Training, and approximately 500 persons with disabilities since 2016 would have benefited from those training programs. So they are in a good position to benefit. But, it's quite true what you said. People need to position themselves. And I was once told that life is like a chess game. Position, you win. So it's all about positioning yourself as a person with a disability to grab those opportunities the government are affording us as people with disabilities. And the other point, Leroy, is the impact the business centers would have financially. We have always been asking for persons with disabilities to gain financial independence, to be empowered financially, and this is a major boost, to fulfill that desire that we all have to be independent as people with disabilities financially. It will have a rippling effect on their lives. And, we must, as you said, applaud the government and more so His Excellency for this measure. But, again, we must highlight that this thing was the First Lady, Her Excellency Ali, the first center in Region 6 that sometime hopefully this year later will be established. She really conceptualized that and, got the support of the government to roll it out in all the regions. Yeah. Celeste, as a parent with a disability, the president last Friday on June 3rd would have announced a cash grant of $100,000 to all children with disabilities. How do you feel about that?
I was grateful. I felt really pleased. I excited because it's financially we struggle. Because sometimes you want to get, you can't, like if they say, for instance, you have more than one children. The things them what the special needs child would inquire would cost more than an ordinary child.
That's so true.
So like that, you need more money. And he also announced that the centers, parents, when we were among ourselves, we were questioning if we will be able to apply for work, because they got some parents that have skills in dealing with children with special needs. So they want to know if they can apply for work. So we're looking forward to the center also being built and open, so we can apply for jobs. Because I, being a special needs teacher, I've been in this field for over, my daughter's 18, I've been in this field for 18 years. I also teach different schools. So I am looking forward to applying to get a job there.
Based on your experience and qualification.
Yes.
Celeste, you're also part of different Parent Teachers Association, also a parent support group.
Yes.
For parents who have children with disabilities. What is the mood? What are some of the things being said about the announcement by His Excellency within that circle?
They are looking forward for it. They really appreciate it and they're excited. They just want to know when it will happen. And they're excited. Mostly they're excited. And what they're looking forward to is getting the public assistance, because most of them in the group do not have the public assistance. If they do get it, they get it for half year. Then they have to apply it again. Then they have to apply the medical, which I think that's frustrating. Because if you have a permanent disability, you see this child have a permanent disability, why you don't put them on permanent disability so they can get the public assistance? They put them on half year, and then when that year finish, they have to reapply. They have to go and get a medical, and the doctors them are fed up of us.
But that is for the people who actually get through.
Yes.
But there are
because I have some that don't get through.
There are a lot of persons who have children with disabilities that have been unable to access the public assistance grant, and the president would have addressed that.
Yes, he did.
So that's major. So let's come back to you to expand on some of the challenges. As a parent, you would encounter having a child with a disability and why this cash grant is so important. But Leroy, I want to get your thoughts on the cash grant firstly, and also the issue of removing some of the barriers that currently are there that hinders parents of children with disabilities from accessing public assistance. But let's get your thoughts on the cash grant first.
No, the cash grant is incredible, and I'm looking forward to hear exactly how the cash grant will be distributed. But all in all, however and whenever it will be distributed, I know it will significantly enhance the lives of children with disabilities in our country. Like Celeste rightly said, the cost for things that persons with disabilities or children with disabilities would require or need for their academic advancement or whatever it might be is a bit more expensive than the non-disabled children and non-disabled people. For example, if you have a child who's blind, he or she will require a computer to get their work done within the school. They might require a tape recorder. A tape recorder doesn't carry the price of a textbook.
That's so true.
If you go downtown, you do some shopping. These things are far more expensive. We have to buy cassettes. We may have to buy flash recorders or flash drives, and then you also have to get all these items to cushion or help facilitate smooth learning for you as a disabled person. So I think all in all, that cash grant of 100,000 Ghana dollar couldn't get better. It was really, really widely appreciated. And I listened to how elated those parents are at the announcement on the 3rd of June. I can tell that this will be transformational for them and their kids. So I'm looking forward to hear more coming out of the First Lady's office and that of the President.
Leroy, your thoughts on the issue of public assistance. At that function hosted by His Excellency and Her Excellency at State House, a lot of the parents that were present raised the issue or the challenges of accessing public assistance, and the President said he would address this, that every child with a disability would be able to receive public assistance. How significant is that? And what really are your thoughts on this one?
Look, persons with disabilities experience the royal runaround when it comes to getting their public assistance sorted. That shouldn't be the case. And just to paraphrase what the president said, and I listened to his speech just last night before I, went to sleep, and I liked what he said. He said, "I don't know how much more evidence we need to determine that somebody has a disability to put them on public assistance, and it's staring right there in front of you in your face." That's what he said.
Yes.
And it couldn't be clearer. Somebody who's blind, and one mother said her daughter's daughter doesn't have any, well, she's blind, but she doesn't have any eyeball. And you might be able to see that, with your naked eyes. And why would you need further evidence to prove that this child is blind or this child will be blind permanently? So he wants to move in the direction, including the Minister of Human Services and Social Security, the Honorable Dr. Vindhya Prasad, to see persons with disability go on a permanent list, to access public assistance. And I think Minister Vindhya Prasad said it will be a 1-year book, but you will only renew it after 2 years. But gradually, as we continue working, work is in progress.
All the kinks will be ironed out.
Exactly. So for starters, if we go on that 2 years period of not having to go and renew our public assistance books, then soon you will tell that we don't have to do it at all.
It is currently, you get a 1-year book and you receive the new one in the following year. However, you only would update your records every 2 years to ensure that you're still alive. But Leroy, as an advocate, I'm sure you're quite familiar with this aspect of advocacy within the disability community, that is public assistance. Daily, you get calls as an advocate.
Yes, you get calls
from
daily.
persons with disabilities all across Guyana,
Yeah,
expressing their disgust
yes.
at the issues they have to face in accessing that grant.
The red tapes, yes, the red tapes. That's the line.
And the attitudes,
The attitudes, yes, and the red
of
tape.
the officers.
Because the president did speak to what one parent highlighted, how she was treated when she went to, I think it's in BV on the east coast of Demerara, and the president was very adamant about finding out who is the officer, what is the name of the officer. So I would encourage persons or parents of children with disabilities, if you're going to these offices to get public assistance, take the names of officials, especially if they give you a hard time, and you report that to the office of the First Lady of the President, and let him or their office deal with those officials. Don't put up for the nonsense. You have a child with a disability, you have a disability, you shouldn't be taken forever to benefit from what is rightfully set up there for you as a disabled person.
That is true, and it's very important that as persons with disabilities, we become self-advocates. Or, if you're a parent or a guardian of a child or a ward with a disability, you become an advocate for that child so that they can be able to access the services that are available for them, but at the same time be able to access the rights that are inherent to them.
Correct.
As a citizen of this country. Celeste, challenges of raising a child with a disability. It's not the same as if I would have highlighted some. It's not the same as if you have a child without a disability and you're in, both areas. You have children without disabilities and a child with a disability.
Yes.
Tell us some of those, or express some of those challenges and how significant this sum would be to you.
First thing, you can't take my daughter, you can't take her in a crowd. So even if I want to go out with the rest of the children, I have to look and see how many people are going, where could I take her, because you can't take her in a crowd. She don't like crowds. Since this pandemic, I can actually say my daughters have stayed home for actually 1.5 years until the minister opened back out school. And even when she opened back out school, my daughter wasn't going because my daughter is a cancer survivor. I have to think twice in where I'm taking her, what she's eating, everything about her life. I have to think twice in everything I do. So because of that, I had to be now her mind, her voice, as we would say. I had to be the one to talk and say, I cannot send my daughter to school which that created a bigger problem because school opened and nobody was willing to take her, or nobody was willing to go online and teach her. So I said, okay, if nobody's willing, I will teach my daughter myself. That is one of the biggest problems that we have. Teachers is not willing to go out. I know one teacher was willing to stay online with her. I'm not going to lie, one teacher.
Yes. But yeah, we know that there are challenges with the education system.
Yes.
But personally, what are, other than that, like financially, how you
It is hard because now I'm coming from Tail Dairy. It is hard because now with the pandemic, I have to catch taxi with her. So come to town is 225, sometimes 3,000. Now gas raise, I don't know how much more money they're gonna want.
So
it is hard. When I can consider buying something for the child that we create, that we say is normal, I have to consider, okay, I can pick up a snack pack, and the rest of the children might eat the snack pack, but I can't go and pick up a snack pack for Michaela. I have to go and pick up fruits. And then everything going skyrocket in the market. So it is hard.
So that you definitely, this sum that would be given by the government would make
it would make a great impact because the public assistant could do so much and so forth. Yes, it's filling a hole, which I'm very appreciated.
So you do receive public assistance?
Yes, I receive it. But before then, she was on the half year, and when I had problems with the officers because one officer told me at the time I was married. I'm not married anymore. But at that time I was married. One officer told me because I was married, my child cannot receive public assistance.
And that shouldn't be the case.
And I complained about it. And you were the person that really stood up and tell me go back again. Because she didn't receive it for 2 years.
And let us hope that with what the president would have announced, that all of these issues would be dealt with, and the red tape would be removed.
Well, we're hoping so, but then the Excellency told the minister that she have to look into her officers because the officers need training in how to deal with us.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna low grade us and ask us where's the person, where's the child father, where's the husband, what you're doing. And then in my instant, I have parents that she's looking after her granddaughter. Her daughter is blind, and the mother's not working. So in order, she's looking after both persons, the child that's going to school and the one that is not. So in that instant, when she go to apply, they told her she's working, so she don't need the money, and that is wrong.
All right, let's hope and wait and hope that this would be dealt with, and all the issues would be removed. But I would encourage you.
God for that.
I would encourage you, and I would also encourage Leroy to continue advocating and highlight what the president would have said whenever we have to encounter these officers or the issues are raised. Leroy, the president announced assistance for children, as we would have been discussing. Do you see a need for such a cash grant to be afforded to the adults with disabilities who are unemployed, with limited sources of income?
Yes. One word, yes. Persons with disabilities for long, and I think as well for some time to come to, unless we have real dramatic programs and changes to how we look at disability in our country, in our world today. So I'll say yes, adults should be considered being rewarded financially where support is concerned, and I already had conversations with a number of adults asking, are we eligible for this? So I say, I don't think so. I listened to the president's speech entirely, and no mention has been made for
definitely
adults
not from this program.
I think the president will eventually come up with something for the adults, because the issues the young ones face aren't very vastly different to what the adults experience. So we have lots of adults who are going to university, lots of adults who have other things they have to take care of, and to get to those places or to get those things completed requires you traveling back and forth and spending a lot on transportation.
And a lot of adults live on their own.
And they live on their own too. They have to pay all the bills.
Additional expenses. So they
And we've had that cry at the program too. So I think something must be or should be considered for the adults as well, to level things off for all living with disabilities in our society.
But as a long-term measure,
Right.
do you think we need a separate scheme to provide financial assistance to people with disabilities, separate from public assistance?
Precisely.
Because as as an advocate, I would have been advocating for us to have a disability grant, so that the same policy that governs public assistance is not the one that governs the disability grant. It should be disability specific. And once you have that, a lot of the issues would no longer exist.
Yes. Look, I think the president is a very thinking person from what I've gathered since he assumed office a few years ago. And I'm confident that when the National Commission on Disability completes the national survey of PWDs in our country, and we have a true figure of people living with disabilities in our country, then the government will be able to sit down and say, right, now that it's not what we always thought it used to be, higher or lower, we will now consider seriously actually putting persons with disabilities in a separate grant, a separate program to receive some sort of financial payout or support, other than what they're currently benefiting from.
Well,
through
instead
public
of
assistance.
that, because you
Right.
can't get both.
Right, so they'll be separated from public
Yes.
assistance and go on a disability grant, so especially
That
if
is
the figures are
something,
low.
and it's done in other countries.
It is done in other countries.
So
in the
there
Caribbean.
is, best practices that can be replicated here.
Yeah.
So we will continue agitating for that. And as you said, the president has a vision for disability. And since assuming office in August of 2020, a lot has been done for the community of people with disabilities. Celeste, you said earlier that you work in the field of special education. You're a teacher.
Yes.
And the president would have announced that for the first time, they would have an actual major in special education needs, an associate degree at the Sir Potter College of Education, so that people can pursue that field. And we will be able to have a pool of trained teachers to work with children with disabilities. Provide us with your thoughts on that.
I was very grateful to hear that, because I was asked why I don't go and attend CPC. I said I'm not going to go and attend CPC because they don't deal with special education. So only a 6 weeks program they give you. And I already did that through Karen Hall, who used to work at NSERT. I did the course with her on more than one occasion. So it makes sense me to go, and I want special needs.
Yeah.
So I was very grateful for hear that. So I will apply.
And how do you think it would impact the lives of these children that are in the school, the children with disabilities?
It will affect them greatly, because they have teachers that willing to learn and willing to go out the extra miles and actually qualify into it. And I have some that don't. So you would know directly, okay, this is my field, this is what I want to work on. So you will have it. You have it now.
Mm-hmm. So
I am grateful for that. So at least now I can actually go and say, yes, this is it.
Yes, thanks very much. So that's Leroy, your thoughts on this other significant announcement by His Excellency of having an associate degree at the Sir Potter College of Education in special education needs, and also he spoke of the University of Ghana of having similar programs. What are your thoughts as an advocate, and how do you think, you would have passed through the system as a student with a disability, and the difficulties not having trained teachers within the system. So both sides, how do you feel about this, and how do you think it would impact the children with disabilities in the classroom?
It will definitely be impactful to the children within the classroom with disabilities. And again, I applaud that approach, that announcement, that intention from His Excellency,
Yes.
and by extension the government. I think we need, and what he's hinging on to, that we need not to study disability halfway. We need to study disability in full. That's basically the essence of what he's saying. And that's why he's going to move in that kind of direction. We don't need to go to the university or CPC and study disability. There's nobody who can learn disability and how to support support PWDs
No.
in 6 weeks. It's unbelievable. It's impossible, actually. So
It is.
having it done for a 4 years or a 3 years period, and not even that is enough. You will have to have other programs happening after that to ensure that you keep learning, because things are happening every day where disability is concerned. You have to keep learning and adapting to situations and conditions. So that 3 years program or 4 years programs at UG or CPC will be super, super important to whoever goes into those areas.
True.
To learn how to provide adequately and sufficiently and effectively for a person with disability. It
Yes.
has always been the cry by parents of children with disabilities that here's what, teachers don't work properly with us within the school. Rather than
No.
describing things, they just narrate things that ought to be described for us, and we just sit there and sail. We have had that encounter so many times at the University of Ghana, and I've heard friends who've passed through the system there at UG and CPC talked about the same or similar stuff.
And it will
It's
definitely
true.
train because, in addition to those measures that are in the field of education that would have been announced, a lot of teachers are currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in special education needs
Right.
through the GOAL initiative. So probably in about 2 to 3 years, they would graduate with the special education needs bachelor's degrees,
Yeah.
and they would be in the system. So it's a multi-pronged approach to tackling the issues of education. And I'm very pleased as an advocate, and I must congratulate His Excellency Dr. Irfaan Ali and his government for the approach taken to alleviate the challenges persons with disabilities encounter. And
The constraints.
yeah, it's an approach that is structured, an approach that is grounded in the contents of the Disability Act. Because if you look at some of the measures, they're all from the Disability Act, in a sense that education, need for trained teachers,
Yes.
it's in the Act. Financial assistance for families, for persons with disabilities and persons with disabilities themselves, Disability Act.
Yeah, it shows that
The need
he's
for
spending
employment.
time to read that. Act.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it's grounded.
Yes.
So again, I must commend His Excellency and congratulate them for the work they've been doing for disability since assuming office. Celeste, Leroy, I want to thank you both for being on the program and sharing your thoughts on these measures by His Excellency. Thank you very much,
You're
viewers.
welcome.